Crusaders, and welcome to our latest episode. My name's Sean Wasserkrug, and today we're going to be reviewing Creed 3. Now, for me, I love the Creed films. I'm a big fan of the Rocky movies as well, but I really have enjoyed what they've been doing with the Creed franchise so far. Creed 1, I thought, was a great opening number to this new trilogy, and had the remnants of Rocky to kind of connect everyone to it. I think Creed 2 did something that I thought I never would have done in any times of the years of watching Rocky, which was actually feel bad / maybe even root for the Dragos in that film. And this time out with Creed 3, the big selling point for me was Jonathan Majors joining the cast as the big bad, if you even want to call him that in terms of the Rocky franchises, playing someone from Creed's past. Now, the big thing that's going to be different from this time out compared to the Rockies and the previous Creeds is two things. One, Michael B. Jordan's directing. It's his first time directing, so lead actor and director for the role. And two, there is no Rocky in this movie. This movie is completely Rocky-free. Now, whether that is something that's going to hinder it or make it better is an entirely different situation. My only issue I really had with the Rocky-lessness of Creed is that there's never a single moment in the film that they bring up the status of Rocky. Now, I know there's some backstage stuff with the producers and Stallone having a feud. That's fine that, Stallone doesn't want to come back for those reasons. I'm okay with that. But to not mention whether Rocky is alive or dead or anything like that, not even say, oh, where's Rock? Oh, he's up in, Vancouver with his kid, or he's back in Philadelphia, let's not bother him. Just drop a line like that so we at least know, because every time there's a Creed movie, someone passes away. So I kind of wanted to know, hey, is Rocky still out there or is he dead? Because there's never really a moment outside of just talking about, Rocky fought Apollo and stuff like that. There's never a moment where Creed ever really acknowledges Rocky's existence to a point, which was kind of weird based off of what they've been through together over the last two films. I'm not upset that Rocky's not in the movie. This is actually the first film that I felt like Adonis Creed, Michael B. Jordan, that this was his own film. Creed 1 was mainly, yes, while both Creed movies are about Adonis, Creed 1 and Creed 2 were still very much a Rocky-centric universe, whereas with the first Creed was Adonis trying to prove that, he wasn't a failure or a mistake to Apollo, and obviously Rocky proving that Adonis is not another Tommy Gunn from Rocky 5. Creed 2 obviously was all about Adonis avenging Apollo's death from the Dragos, but obviously very Rocky-centric because of the events of Rocky 4. Creed 3 is 100% an Adonis film. There is no back or previous past tense stuff with the Rocky franchise. There's no instances that makes it, connect to Rocky in any way. This is 100% Adonis's film, Adonis's story, Adonis's past, and nothing to do with the Rocky franchise whatsoever. And it shows that by the end of this film, because we already know we're going to get a Creed 4, and they're talking about spin-offs for other characters and stuff like that, which I'm all for, especially if they're going to keep up this momentum, because like I said, I really have enjoyed both Creeds, and I really enjoyed this one as well, that Adonis, or Michael B. Jordan, can carry this torch proudly and strongly, and they don't have to rely on the past of Stallone and Rocky in order for these franchises to get people in the theaters to watch this film. I think Michael B. Jordan does a great job directing for his very first time. He adds new elements to the Rocky franchise. Yes, you're still going to have your typical training montages, your big fight battles, and all that kind of stuff, because it's still a boxing film. Even if it's not a Rocky movie, you still have to have those in boxing films to get, basically the audience to rally behind these characters. And yes, you're going to get those. They're not as motivationally cheesy, which even though I like that, they're not as a motivationally cheese as the previous films were with Rocky and stuff like that. This is a very raw and personal story for Adonis and Jonathan Majors' character, Damian Anderson. The main plot basically follows, they the movie starts back in 2002. We meet a young Adonis and a young Damien, and some things happen. And then we jump ahead to, I believe it's 3 years after the events of Creed 2, where Adonis is going up in his final fight up against Pretty Ricky Conlon, the boxer he lost to in the first film, and he basically goes out on a high note. We then jump ahead another 3 years, basically up to present day, and Adonis is running Delphi with a little Duke. He's basically kind of creating his own empire. He's training these brand new batch of fighters. Everything's working for Adonis. Then Damien shows up, and Damien's basically was this up and coming Golden Gloves boxer. He was going to be heavyweight champ. He was about to go pro, and things turned awry. And because Adonis feels this brothership with Dame, that he feels like he has to help him out. And Dame wants one thing and one thing only. He wants a title shot. He wants to become champion, because in his eyes, he was always going to become one, and it got taken away from him. It got snatched away from him, and it's the least that Adonis can do, that based off of the events of the film, to basically help him get to that point. It is then from there on that you really start getting into the crux of the film. You start to get this story of the past that has haunted Adonis his whole life, and to the point where he just can't get past it. And even though he tried to bury it deep down, Dame resurfacing has opened up old wounds and has causes strifes between him and Bianca, played by Tessa Thompson, who's great as always. Has caused issues even with his daughter Amara, who's a little bit older now, played by Mila Davis-Kent, who actually does a really great job as well, and she's got her own little subplot story. But it's everyone around him, even his mom, played by Felicia Rashad, telling him, dump Dame, don't let him into your life, he's bad news, it's going to end out badly for you. But because Adonis feels like he owes Dame, that is the crux that he has to bear through the film until we get to the inevitable third act. Michael B. Jordan, like I said, great doing director, but he is fantastic as Adonis Creed. He is now in his third role of this character. He knows how to breathe life into Adonis, and even fresher life into Adonis, because this isn't about Rocky anymore. This isn't about avenging Apollo or trying to show that he's a mistake. He has established himself as this one of the great boxers of all time. And now he has his past life, his past issues all opening up. So you have this shell of a fractured man who's trying so hard to keep everything together and not lose everything that he had, but feels almost like an imposter because of the events that happened to him in his childhood, that he feels obligated to help Dame. And then when stuff starts to go bad, it breaks him to a point mentally. And he has to grow and become stronger to that. And because of that, when we do inevitably get to this big third act fight, which, come on, Dame and Adonis are going to fight. That fight is such a powerfully emotional battle between these two. And it's done like no Rocky film has ever done. It is shot in a way that I don't even want to give away. Now, because of this uniqueness to this final fight, you're either going to be on board with it or you're not. I was 100% on board with it. I was a little taken aback when it first happened, but once you actually let it breathe and you really kind of understand the story that these two characters are having throughout this film, Dame and Adonis, it's beautiful the way that it's shot. It adds so many more layers to their characters. It adds so many more layers to the story and the paths that these two characters have walked from their young age to this very moment. And I thought it was a beautifully chosen direction by Michael B. Jordan doing this. I think the fights choreography was incredibly well done. This is the first boxing film to ever be shot in IMAX. It looks gorgeous. The cinematography is fantastic. I loved Creed 3. It's the first really good film of 2023, thank God, because so far this year has been the year of passable films, but not any good films. Creed 3 is a knockout, pun intended. Where it ranks in the other Creed films, I like each Creed film, especially in their own way, so I can't really rank which one I like more. I like Creed 2 a little bit better than Creed 1 in certain times, and then other times I like Creed 1 better. Creed 3, I think, is going to be kind of in that mix as well, because I think Jonathan Majors does a incredible performance of Dame. The one or two knocks or negatives I have about Creed 3 is that it is at 2 hours. I think it could have survived going another 20, maybe even 30 minutes. I think there's at least 2 or 3 scenes that Jonathan Majors should have had as Dame to give a little more to his character. There's a lot in his character, but there's a lot of stuff that happens in the second act that I felt was missing or was lacking for his character before we inevitably got to that third act battle. And I felt like there should have been at least 2 or 3 more scenes to give Jonathan Majors a little more. He was already doing great, but I just wanted more from this Damien character because he's such an interesting character, especially with everything going with Adonis. And it was more like they're telling you, they're not showing you. And I wanted to see the story that we were getting instead of kind of fast-forwarding to this fight. There's also a subplot with Amara's character about her wanting to become a fighter and her getting into fights in schools, and it looks like that we were going to have almost a separate storyline with that, and we do take time with that. But once we get into the Dame main part and we start to get into the building up to the fight, they do kind of just brush that storyline off to the side, almost to the point that you kind of forget about it until the very, very end. And I felt like if you were going to make this a valid point, you should have thrown a couple more scenes into there to keep that storyline at least gravitating to the final points of the film. But, like I said, probably could use about another 20, 30 minutes because I really loved the way the film was going. It did not feel overly long. It did not feel like, oh my god, let's get to it. If anything, I felt like after, from the near part of the second act into the third act, it felt rushed. I felt like they needed to slow down and let the story breathe a little bit more. But we know we're getting more Creed movies, at least one more. This is all stuff that Michael B. Jordan, who probably will direct the next one, I'm assuming, will learn and grow and make better. And I'm excited to see where this storyline goes. If they decide, hey, we're just going to stop at Creed 3, I think it's also a really great ending for the franchise as well. Whether we get Rocky back is an entirely different situation. I'm okay if we don't get him back, but I would like at least a finality point to him. Oh, he moved to Vancouver to live with his son, or he passed away. And then, okay, cool, we got it. We don't need Rocky anymore. We've got Adonis. Either way, if you're a fan of the Rocky Creed franchise, you absolutely need to see this. If you have an IMAX near you, watch this in IMAX. It is fantastic. Strong recommendation. Like I said, the only nitpicks I have is storyline bases, and maybe that the film should have been a little longer to pad those storylines a little bit better, mainly for the Amara and Damien character. But overall for me, I'm going to give a score of an 89% for Creed 3. Definitely go check this out. You will not be disappointed. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you guys did, go ahead and hit that like, share, and subscribe button to the channel. And also, don't forget to leave comments. What's your favorite Rocky Creed film? What's your favorite fight? Who's your favorite fighters? Let me know in the comments below. Coming up next, we have Cinemasochism this week with Brian and myself, as well as the Weekly Crusaders. We'll get those out as soon as we can. It's been kind of a very hectic, busy week for both Brian and I, so we will try to shoot those whenever we can. Operation Fortune also came out this week. I will try my best to get that watched. If it's worth talking about, we will have that review on the channel as well. Next week, we've got Scream 6, 65, and I want to say there's one other movie, but I can't think of it off the top of the head. If I remember it, I'll show the screen of it right here. But we also have the Oscar show coming up here. We got the Oscars coming out here on March 12th, so Brian and I will be back with an Oscar show where we give our best performances of the year from 2022 and who we think is going to win and who we think should win this year at the Oscars. So we got plenty of videos coming here, so be on the lookout for that. And until next time, in case we don't see you, go watch some movies and have some fun.
You're still here. It's over. Go home.